But
No thanks.
yeah. We did have some questions about Hendrick, and I guess we can just dive into the Q&A piece of this now. Let me now move over to the questions. There we go. Answering your questions. You like that lower third? Thank you to our higher ups at 24/7 for helping us with that. So we got a question from DJ Goligoski. I believe I asked that question. Will he or will he not start, or will he be more of a play guy till they're on the season? Couple of grammatical errors there at the end of the question, but I think you get the gist of it, Jack. Will Trent Hendrick be a starter? I don't think either of us know either way right now, but if you were a betting man, do you have any insight into that?
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on it the last 2 or so days. I'm going to lean that he does start just because of how we've heard Chesney and Hitchler talk about him after the last 2 practices, right? It's clear that they want to get him out there as soon as possible. Whether or not that is in a starting role in 10 days, can't predict that. I'm sure, these next 2 practices or all of next week, we may have a better idea. But if it is Jalen Woods who, starts, then I envision that Trent will come in, sooner rather than later and get a good deal of snaps. So I wouldn't really bog myself down with, okay, who's going to be next to Samuel, right? Like, yeah, you want to know who's going to start, but especially at linebacker, like there's going to be a rotation going on more likely than not. And Spinagati and Palat, they'll also get in there. But yeah, it's a long-winded answer to saying I really don't know, but I lean that he's going to start, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't.
I think this is a all hands on deck, throw everything you possibly can, win at all costs, game one, as much as a week 1 game can be. And so because of that, I do think it's a game where he'll start. If they were playing Nevada, people always give me crap for how I say that. I wonder if it would be a different situation where they would feel more comfortable bringing him along a little bit slower. But because the implications for that Cal game are so big, and because I know it's late at night, especially on the East Coast, but like that's a showcase big time game nationally. With all that in mind, I feel like you just want to put your best foot forward. And if they trust Hendrick more than they trust Woods, then I just wonder if he would start. And that's kind of how I lean to, Jack, but there's no way to know. And he does have to earn it. That's what Chesney said. So, of course, they're not just going to give it to him. But I do expect him to start if I had to guess. So I'm with you on that. And then DJ had a follow-up with the NCAA question. Or excuse me, that's the wrong one. First, he said, with the NCAA thing, will he be scot-free after that? He's an impact player, but not a massive impact player. I think that if the Louisiana thing doesn't get challenged, that's the last domino, and he should be good. He is an impact player, but not a massive impact player. Depends on your definition of an impact player. I made the case on our reaction video, Jack, that he's obviously an impact guy. He's going to play a lot. He's going to be a key person on defense. But to me, he wasn't a ceiling changer. And that was what I talked about when we did our show Sunday. And maybe that's what DJ is referencing there when he talks about not being a massive impact guy. But I mean, I think he's going to be pretty dang impactful in terms of playing a lot and really helping UCLA in some of those swing games that we've talked a lot about. So I guess it depends on your definition. He's not a NFL guy, clearly. Maybe he'll get another shot, but if he was an NFL guy, he'd be in the NFL. So his ceiling isn't all that high, but the situation is really unique where he knows the staff really well. You can slot him in immediately. He'll need to get up to speed playing alongside some new guys in this defense. But because of all that, I think he will be very impactful. I just don't know how much that impact will affect when you go to Oregon, when you host USC, when you play Michigan on the road later in the year. Of course he'll help, but is he going to be the difference between a win and a loss? Probably not.
I just look at it as this defense is a lot better today than it was 3 days ago when he wasn't here, right? You can slice massive impact player any way you want. I don't know. All I know is that the defense got better. So that's that.
The 4 letters wants to know, Jack, do we know where the coordinators will call games from, sidelines or the booth? You asked yesterday to the 2 coordinators. What were the answers that you received?
Hitchler will be down on the field. Dean Kennedy said he doesn't know.
Why is he being so weird about that?
He definitely knows where he's coaching. And I asked him. He gave us that answer. So I don't know. I'm not sure what he did at JMU. I'll have to go and see, but I could see him wanting to be down on the field and just being able to speak to Nico face to face. That always, is just a nice helpful thing. But if he's up in the box, then that's perfectly okay too. But Hitchler will be down on the field. So
I wonder if quarterback coach John Boyer, if Kennedy is on the field, would be in the booth and he could maybe be the eyes and the ears for
yeah, they'll have whoever
Kennedy.
they'll have somebody up there, multiple people up there,
Oh, yeah.
regardless if it's Kennedy or not.
I think Boyer is a good candidate because he was the offensive coordinator at Michigan State. Like, he has the play calling experience. He was
Right.
at Oregon State before. If you're on the field, you need someone. I mean, you obviously need people who you trust in the booth, but like, you need someone ideally with play calling experience to be up there to kind of like not hold your hand, but just point out things that maybe you can't see.
For
So
sure.
he would be my candidate if Kennedy does stay on the field. What other questions do we have? A lot of people are big into the YouTube simulations. I would get these questions at USC, so I did not see this, but Dunduran asked, "Did you guys catch the virtual game on YouTube? It made our DBs look vulnerable and projected Cal winning 20-17 on a last-minute play. Are you a YouTube simulated college football guy, Jack?"
Can't say that I am, but I mean, I see them pop up on like Instagram or Twitter and X every so often. So like I'll watch those, but I wouldn't put too much stock into them at all. But they are entertaining, I guess.
Especially when there's no football. But yeah, I'm the same way.
Exactly.
I do not watch those, but all the power to you if you enjoy that kind of thing. Enter Xenon wants to know any news on how Carson Cox is developing. I always felt like he could explode at any moment. I think he is developing, just a little bit lower on the depth chart right now because they have the three seniors in Knight, Woods, and Thomas who, assuming they're all healthy, they're going to be getting a lot of carries, and just Cox is below those guys, which is understandable because he's a second-year player.
Yeah, just stay ready though, especially at running back. Injuries will pop up, and you never know when your number is going to be called. So, but now is not his time, I would say.
Aaron P wants to know thoughts on Cal bringing in coordinators that haven't called plays compared to UCLA with continuity. It's a huge question because Tosh Lapoy was the defensive play caller at Oregon, but like, the way it's been explained to me was he relied on Dan Lanning and another coach. Like, it was a brain trust. It wasn't just Lapoy. Maybe he gave the call, but it was by committee more so than him just being the guy. So he's not set to call the plays. Or maybe he'll call the defense. I guess I shouldn't speak. Like, I know for sure. I don't exactly know how they'll call the defense there, but the offensive coordinator is the first time play caller. If it's Lapoy on defense or the defensive coordinator, I guess Lapoy does have that experience, like I said, but he's never done it all by himself. So tons of questions with that. I mean, it has to be an advantage for UCLA. The question is, how big of an advantage is it going to be? If these guys for Cal are ready to go and it just works, then, all the power to them, but it will be an advantage for UCLA. I think my question is how big of an advantage it will be. And it's really hard to answer that right now.
Yeah, but I think you and I both think this game is going to come down to the end and be a tight game, and that may just push UCLA over the hump, right? With that advantage in coaching and their experience to lean on and rely on. So, yeah, hard to say. 10 days away, but we'll get the answer soon enough.
Do you know if Lapoy is calling the plays, Jack? We'll look into that
I do
after
not.
this. Okay.
I do not, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does, right?
We're just starting the Cal prep, as you can tell. So we got some time here with the game being 10 days away, but it has been fun to dive in. It was fun looking at the depth chart. It was fun looking at some stuff with Lapoy, and it's going to be really, really interesting. He might strike me as a CEO head coach. I wouldn't be surprised if it's
I could see it.
the DC calling it. Kazal wants to know, I'm driving up to Cal for game one because I'm going to miss the first home game. What game plan wise can we expect to see on offense? Downfield passing, short game, RPO, inside zone runs, etc. I've hit on this a good amount in the past. I expect a lot of optionality plays where Nico will take the shotgun snap, drop back to pass, and then he'll have the opportunity to run. He'll have either a tight end or a running back in the flat for a pass. He'll have receivers on one side of the field. And then on a lot of plays, like they will motion a bunch of people one way, and then they want to get someone like a Brian Rowe all by himself. So like I anticipate it's going to be an offense where Nico will receive the snap and then he'll have a lot of different options. There won't be a lot of like, this is your read and you need to throw it here at this time. Like he's going to have a lot of freedom to do what he wants to do. And misdirection will be a big part of it. Optionality. Like I said, I do expect a lot of short passes. I do expect a lot of zone runs up the middle, a lot of stuff with Knight and Woods and Thomas, and those guys will also be active in the passing game. But I can't shake that Chesney comment about him talking about his strength on the offense and feeling like it was that interior running game. That makes me feel like we'll see some of that because he trusts the interior of the offensive line so much. I know I threw a lot at you there, but I kind of think that's the sense of it. And just expect those running backs to be very involved in the passing game. Expect Brian Rowe to be very involved in the passing game. Landon Ellis too, Mikey Matthews, Samaj Morgan. Those are all the guys we see continue to pop up. And if Brian Rowe is catching passes down the field, that's obviously a huge thing for UCLA because I don't know just how much they have a guy right now who projects to be like that deep threat, got to have it guy down the field. But, it's going to be a lot of short stuff to set up the long stuff, and we'll see how they can do with the long stuff.
Yeah, they want to run the damn ball, and that's what they're going to do, and that's what they're going to try to do. And then, yeah, I envision a lot of their passing game to be short, intermediate in the screen game. There's going to be a lot of pre-snap motion and whatnot because they want to give Nico all the answers before the ball is snapped, right? You want to diagnose if they're in man or if they're in zone or if this side is in man or if that side, they want to give Nico all the answers. So there's going to be a lot of pre-snap motion. They want to win that pre-snap mental warfare. But yeah, I think their main goal and objective is going to be to run the ball, break the will of this Cal's defense. And then, of course, once you set up the run, that sets up your whole offense to do damn near whatever you want. And that will make everyone else's lives easier. Receivers, Nico. So yeah, expect a heavy dose of the run game and then just playing off of Nico's legs from there.
We always have questions about this. Any news on Scooter Jackson? So the line from UCLA has been when his status changes, we will let you know to the media. They got kind of sick of me asking Chesney after every practice if he was going to be out there for games, which I understand because it's an academic eligibility thing. So that'll be something to pay attention to. And I can ask with the season being so close about that. We had another question with Scooter Jack from our subscribers. I can shout him out when I go through the subscriber questions, but say he gets eligible to play tomorrow. Do you anticipate him starting or do you anticipate him having to earn that back and it's going to take a little bit of time?
Yeah, great question. And it would be a great problem for the staff to have. They would probably kill to have this problem right now if Scooter got the green light. But I mean, he's been out there with the twos. He's been out there with the team. Like he hasn't gone anywhere, right? So he's been taking reps. He's been taking snaps. I think he'd scoot, no pun intended, back to the outside where we saw him in the spring. I know he was, he played a lot of nickel last season, right? And that's kind of where he cut his teeth. But in the spring, they had him on the outside, and the staff loved him there, right? So then I would envision Barksdale coming back into that nickel corner role, and then if Cole gets back healthy, coming back to safety, and then it's like, okay, now do you put Malik Hartford back on the bench where you've loved what you've seen from him, right? So like, there would be a name left out, a guy on the bench, and that could still be Scooter, right? If he gets the green light and he's all clear to go, he doesn't automatically just get thrust back into that starting corner role opposite Roderick, right? But great problems to have. We've talked about the depth of the entire secondary, right? And all the moving pieces. So yeah, that's how I would see it though. Scooter on the outside, DJ inside, Cole back at safety. But I mean, Hitchler, he's a mad scientist. So he'll probably, pull all these different kinds of levers, and he would love, again, to have this problem.
In the team periods that we've been able to see, Scooter has been playing some nickel.
Yeah,
so
he has.
I wonder if, like you said, that would maybe put Malik Hartford to the bench and Cole Martin goes back at safety. I don't really know how they would approach it if he was eligible tomorrow, because trust is important with any staff, but like so much of what this staff talks about and like they eat, live and breathe all this is like, we need to be able to rely on you day in and day out. So this whole thing, I think, even if he is good to go, will definitely work against Jackson. Understandably, your best availability.
For sure.
I always say that. What's the expression? The best
Your
availability is
best your
availability.
best ability is your
Okay,
availability.
thank you. Yeah, I can't seem to get that one right, but what Jack said is what I'm trying to say. So the fact that he wasn't able to be relied upon for half of the spring and a lot of the fall, I don't
Yeah,
know what that will mean. Like if he was just good to go tomorrow, how that will impact his standing. Because I'd love him to play corner. If you could put him there and then put Barksdale at nickel, like I think your defense is at its best with Pleasant and
I
Jackson at Scooter,
I
assuming
agree.
everything. But I don't know. So it's a great question. We don't have any update on him. And when he does come back, you could play nickel, he could play corner. We'll have to see. But I guess if I had to guess, like if he was eligible tomorrow, I don't think he would be a starter. And I don't think he would play early in the year. Maybe if there was an injury or something, he would get the chance to work back in, or just he would get the chance in general. And if he earned it on the practice field, we could see more of him. But I wouldn't anticipate him playing a whole lot early if he does get cleared. But hey, that's just a guess. Not totally sure. Okay, let's go to some of our subscriber questions. Some interesting ones this week. Thank you to our subscribers who asked. So NYC Larry, this is a longer one. Bob Chesney looks like a hands-on type of coach, personally demonstrating what he's looking for in drills, rolling up his sleeves during practice, making sure he daps up every player on the roster during stretches. Is this sustainable? He's the CEO of a program with a lot of staffers, and he's constantly needing to do donor work. He represents the UCLA brand beyond campus for marketing and recruiting. Does he eventually pull back and delegate, or does the scrappy, scrap metal eating XD3 grinder from central Pennsylvania keep a tight grip on the reins? That's what makes Chesney Chesney. He's not going to change anytime soon. He will
Exactly.
always be that guy who is hands on, who's lifting weights with the players. I mean, maybe when he gets a little older, yeah, I don't know how long he can lift the weights with the players, but maybe that weight just gets a little lighter, Jack. That's what he does. He's the guy who's going to go in, get his sleeves dirty, or roll up his sleeves, get his hands dirty, do the drills, do the weightlifting. Like that's his special power, his ability to relate to the players, his ability to inspire confidence, his ability to like lead by example. I think that's the biggest superpower with Chesney, and that's not going to go anywhere anytime soon.
Right. That's what he signed up for, right? He signed up to be that coach. He got into coaching for exactly that, to be hands-on, to be out there with his guys. And, he probably didn't get into coaching to be a CEO, right? He even talked about that the other day. Like there are so many responsibilities now as a head coach that seemed like unimaginable a couple of years ago. And now they have so many different responsibilities. So off the field, could I see him, delegate more as the years go by and he just gets more experience as the CEO? And I mean, they already have like, what did he say? Like almost 90 staffers or whatnot. A couple days ago, he said about everybody from the front office to the personnel department, the recruiting department. So like they have an army behind him, right? Like he's not just doing everything by himself. So, but yeah, when it comes to the on the field stuff, he's not slowing down. I mean, his dad hasn't slowed down, and he's out there with them. So I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah, great point on senior. I love that Chesney's a CEO head coach too. That makes a big difference.
Yes.
It was Bruin 374 who had the Scooter Jackson question. I think we answered that. Joe McBruin had the question, will Hendrick be a starter or backup? We talked about that. Bruin Bro 1195 asks, run game wise, how does the offensive line look? Does it look like the O line of the last 3 years that looked big but actually wasn't that strong or athletic? Or more like the O lines of the DTR, Zach Charbonnet running games that were strong, maybe not the most athletic, but played with a mean streak? Or is it a decently strong and athletic offensive line? A strong running game can protect weak pass protection, and the defense has to respond to the play action RPO game because of that. It's hard to evaluate the offensive line because we just don't see a whole lot. And have we even been in a fully padded practice, Jack? I don't know if we've been in
No,
a fully padded
we have not.
practice this summer. So again, we're trying to give you the best insights we can, but we just don't see a whole lot. So, based on what we've heard from the coaching staff, what we've seen, and just talking to people around the program, I really think like Carter Sweezy and Riley Rebel are just going to be stalwarts in there, and they will be asked to do a lot. And just those guys are going to play a whole lot because they're so familiar with what the offensive staff wants to do. So, those guys, like from a looks perspective, I mean, they're big. Sweezy's huge. Rebel is a little smaller, but he's a center. Like, I don't know if I would characterize those guys as like crazy athletic, but I would characterize them as strong and intelligent and like grinders. So I think it would fall, those two would fall more into the latter, where they're not massive but can be pushed around. Like they maybe, I mean, I don't want to say they don't look the part because they do, but like the question was about the offensive line last year. The guys were huge, but they kind of sucked. These guys, I don't think that's the case. I think they're just good football players, and there will be some instances, I imagine, in the Big Ten where they have a hard time going up against some future NFL guys. But in terms of like the floor for them, I think it's going to be pretty solid, even though they're coming from a lower level because of their experience, their age, their um, time already spent in this offense. So that's how I describe those guys. And that's kind of who I like feel comfortable projecting out. I don't really know exactly how Armella and Brooks will be alongside those guys. As I've said a lot, I don't really know what to expect from the offensive tackles. So, like, if the rest of the offensive line can be similar to what Robel and Sweezy are, I'll feel great about it. But like, I really have a hard time saying with any certainty what it's going to look like. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Jack.
I mean, yeah, decently strong, decently athletic. I wouldn't say these guys are going to overpower teams week in and week out, but I think they're going to be stout. That's kind of the word that's been kind of just percolating in my head. These guys are going to be stout up front. They're going to be a little nasty, and that's kind of what you want from your offensive line, right? Whether they project to be this top unit remains to be seen. That would be maybe surprising, but it should be a stout and nasty group. So yeah.
UCLA book guy wants to know any word on how Tyson Ford and Amir Washington have looked in camp. Not really, but Chesney's mentioned that he felt like the interior defensive line has been getting better. And I think the best thing about Ford is that he's been out there all spring, he's been out there all fall camp, and he said to me at media day he feels the best that he's felt in his college career. He's really emphasizing prehab, where he's doing the recovery stuff after, but also doing a lot of pre-recovery work and just doing what he needs to do to stay healthy. So can't really speak a ton to how they've looked on the field, but Ford specifically, it sounds like he's doing all the right stuff off the field. And both guys have been out there the whole time. So that's good because that position just doesn't have a whole lot of depth. So that's encouraging.
Yeah, it's nice to see them day in and day out. And, they haven't been noticeable, but that's also a good thing, right? Like, I haven't noticed just them getting bullied and beaten down and pushed back. Like, they've held their own against a strong interior. So I know we've talked about the concerns and questions that we have, which are still there, but I do feel a little bit better since we started fall camp to now. And I know Chesney has spoken about the interior D line before. And yeah, still questions to be had, and they're going to have to show it right on game days. But I'd say they're moving in the right direction. And whether or not they have the horses to really be the dominant unit, I would also be surprised if that happens. But this could be a unit that is more than serviceable.
We get this question a lot, and it's another projection one. Where do you predict UCLA finishes nationally in total team offense and total team defense, which is a yards per game stat? Last year, UCLA was 118th on offense and 84th on defense. Frank Show says he thinks they'll be top 75 on offense and top 40 on defense. Without, putting myself out there too much, like I don't know, but I think that guess is pretty good. I could see that happening.
Yeah, it's a fair guess. I mean, I personally don't care about yards per game at all. To me, it's points. How many points are you scoring? How many points are you giving up? I think that's
well, obviously it's points, Jack. You got to have fun with the exercise.
Right. I know, but like people love, like, oh, they want like 400 yards per game. Like, yeah, it's exciting, but it's like, okay, how many points are you going to score? Right. Or you give up so many yards, but okay, how many points did you give up? Right. Like, did you bow up? So yeah, for the exercise, I think that's fair to say, but I want to see where they will be when it comes to points scored and points given up. Sorry to rain on your parade.
No, that's okay. I get it. I understand. That's obviously the name of the game. Score more points than your opponent. Bruin 14 wants to know, with so many new players on the team, do you get the sense The group appreciates the historical rivalry with Cal, or do they believe this is just another game? Does the staff know the significance of this game? Ducky Drake would always give a pep talk to the team before Cal week to fire them up because Cal was/is so hated. This game is incredibly huge and compelling for many reasons, especially this year. I think that last sentence is the key. Yes, everyone's new for the most part, and when you have so many new faces, it is really hard to go through the historical perspective of a like rivalry. Like you just lose that because guys are here for a year and they're new and all that. But because there's so much riding on this game, I do think that has increased like the rivalry factor, and like it might not be for the reasons the commenter said, but I do think people understand the perspective of this because so much is riding on the game.
Right. Those guys in the locker room, they know how big this game is just in general, right? I mean, to be honest, I don't know if a lot of those guys care about the Cal rivalry, know about it, right? Because like you said, you're here for 1 year, you're gone the next, right? So it's hard to really build a hatred towards somebody when there's so many moving parts, which unfortunately is what, you lose in today's game, which makes college football so great is these rivalries, the hatred, the disdain for one another. So whether or not the players, feel that, just from my perspective, I would find that hard to believe. Granted, a bunch of these guys know each other, right? They went to school together, they played against each other in high school. So there's like a natural competitive nature there. And yes, rivalry aside, these guys are going to want to win because of just how massive this week one game is going to be. And from the coaching side, like I think Chesney, he understands like the rivalry a little bit more, maybe than so that the players and what this means just, for the future of the program, scoring a week one win over the guys from up north, like that'd be massive. So yeah, you lose a little bit of just the hate when you have so many new faces year in and year out, and conference realignment probably being the biggest one, right? Like you don't see these guys every year, which is a bummer because it is a great rivalry, and it's something that we did lose due to the ACC and the Big Ten and the Pac-12 imploding, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, whether or not the players hate the guy they're lining up against, like they're still going to want to beat his face in and win. So I think that's all that matters. And I mean, I'm a rivalry guy, so like it saddens me a little bit that there isn't, such a peer disdain for one another between the two teams themselves. But I mean, once they strap it up and suit it up, like they're not gonna hold anything back. I'll tell you that. So yeah.
Last question from our subscribers, and then I see a couple others on YouTube. Bruin Boxer wants to know, how is Derek Ray, excuse me, being received and perceived among the department? I heard some Florida State people talking about UCLA's success after hiring Ray, and they thought it was a mistake, but they were also hinting at some other issues at Florida State. I kind of feel like Florida State's been so bad. Like maybe Ray made a mistake here or there, but like the buck stops with Mike Norvell, and there's a reason like they sucked the last couple years, and they're probably going to suck this year. And Ray's not there anymore. It's because their head coach isn't any good, or for whatever reason, made some changes and became no good. I mean, he led them to the playoff or almost to the playoff. They were undefeated and they got left out. Remember that? That was a big controversy. And Ray did a great job of building that roster. So like every evaluator will have hits and misses, and Ray, it's the same thing. But in terms of how it's going with him at UCLA, I mean, look at the 2027 recruiting class that they have. Look at Trent Hendrick, him being able to negotiate that deal when there were a lot of other suitors in on him. I think in college football, especially as a general manager, you're only as good as your head coach. And Norvell really started to just suck. And I think
Right.
Ure was the fall guy for him. And now it seems like the partnership with Chesney is working really well.
Agreed. I've heard nothing but great things about D Ray. I've spoken to him a handful of times and I've been nothing but impressed. And I mean, yeah, Florida State, they go 12-0 and they miss the playoff. Like that's just going to break your brain as a program, right? Because I think they went 2-10 the next year, and then it hasn't gotten better, right? The wheels seem like they've fallen off in Tallahassee with Coach Norvell, and there's always a fall guy. And general managers, don't get me wrong, are super important, especially in today's game, right? But it starts and ends with the head coach, and you're only going to go as far as, as good of a coach as he is. And yeah, I've been impressed with Ray. And like you said, look at the 2027 recruiting class, look at this transfer class that they recently brought in and the Hendrick deal. Like, the green arrow is pointing up. So, yeah.
Agreed. A few other YouTube questions here before we wrap up. I don't know the answer to this, Jack. Do you? How big was Chip Kelly's staff when he was there? It wasn't as big as what Chesney has now.
No, I don't know the exact numbers, but it definitely was not. His recruiting department, personnel department, his staff, not nearly as big.
I wanted to shout out Got Him Coach, who said, Got Him Coach is in the 24/7 Sports Bruins house. Thank you for tuning in, Got Him Coach. He says also that UCLA is a 1.5-point favorite. I haven't looked at the line lately, but that's according to Got Him Coach. So a small favorite heading up to Berkeley. Question for you, Jack. For the 2028 recruiting class, do we have a target for quarterback? I see Brady Quinn out of Florida and Josiah Boyd out of Southern California getting UCLA's attention. Anyone standing out as a favorite in your eyes?
Favorite? I mean, they really, really like Josiah Boyd and Quinn. Brady Quinn, he is coming to visit, I believe, September 12th when they open up their home opener against San Diego State. And then Boyd, I believe, is actually that next week against Purdue. So he'll come through too. But they really like Boyd. They like Quinn. They like the Ace Amina from Gorman, the Bosco quarterback, Koa. But I'd say I don't want to say that. I mean, they are prioritizing Boyd. That's a guy that they really, really like. But he's also being courted from Oregon and damn near every other school in the country. So we'll see. It's early. And it's one that we will be covering very, very close because they will need to get a 2028 quarterback after not getting one in 27. Assuredly not getting one in 27, right? There is still some time, but that's not going to happen. So yeah, the 2028 QB search is, one of the biggest recruiting storylines that UCLA will have in the next year and a half. So it's one that we will stay on top of, but I'd start with Boyd and go from there.
Any chance if some staffs get fired, UCLA could get back into the 27 quarterback market? I don't anticipate Ryan Day leaving Ohio State with Brady Edmonds. And off the top of your head, Jack, you don't have to,
right,
dive deep into your brain to think about this, but stuff does happen at the end of the season when coaches change. So that could be something to pay attention to.
Yeah, I don't want to speak in definitives and never say never, especially in today's wild world. But there's not one that I would see right now. And I don't think UCLA is actively looking, nor do they want to press the issue, right? Because that's how you get yourself in trouble. So I think they're content, they're happy with what they got going on right now.
Last question, True Keeper. How often are teams with so many new players able to gel within one offseason? Signetti is one, but he brought more JMU players with him. I think he actually might have brought fewer JMU players with him to Indiana. But here I go talking about USC again. But when Lincoln Riley took over at USC, they got 1 million transfers and they went 11-1 in the regular season. Remember or 10-2 or I forget. But remember, it fell off and it ended up being bad. They lost to Tulane. I'm not trying to say it was all good, but they had a ton of newcomers and they had a lot of success in the regular season. Just as another example of outside of Signetti, we all know what Signetti did. So I do think it's possible. And in this day and age, it happens a lot more than it used to because you do have so many more new faces. And I don't know. I'm not expecting a Signetti-esque turnaround, but I do think they'll be better than last year, of course. And it does seem to me like the team has gelled. And remember, most of these guys got to UCLA in January. So by the time this game kicks off, they'll have had 8 months together. So not a ton of time, but more so than if a bunch of guys were from the old time spring portal where
right.
That would have been tough to get everyone to gel. So I do think in terms of team chemistry, stuff's at a really good place with that.
Yeah, and that's a thing that Chesney has focused on and talked about, wanting, just to get this group to be a tight-knit bunch. And you really can't force that. It does have to happen naturally. But like you said, these guys have been here since January till now. And they've gone through winter workouts, spring ball, summer workouts, all the off-field stuff. You get super tight off the field. And then you can see it on the field, right? That just naturally carries over that these guys love playing next to each other, love, having just being teammates, right? And Hendrick is a late addition, and I envision he will just fall right in line and pick up right where he left off with his old JMU teammates, and then form new relationships with the new guys. And these things happen fast, and don't want to say it's become easier, but in a way, it's become smoother to really gel quicker, I'd say.